Greetings, algebraites. This is part 2 of section 2-2, point slope form. And as a reminder, we are trying to write and graph using point slope form. To example number 5. And our goal for this one, or our job, is we're going to write an equation in point slope form from 2 points. So before we attack that, we've already seen this before, a very similar situation. And let me show you that the steps are almost the same. The first thing we want to do is to find the slope from 2 points. And we're going to use our super secret formula. M is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Next, we're going to substitute 1 point. Let's go ahead and use that slope there. The slope and 1 point, which one? It doesn't actually matter, into point slope form. And I'm going to abbreviate point slope form by using point pt-m. And if that's what the instructions ask us to do, we're done. However, oftentimes you're going to find that we are going to convert to slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so these instructions right here ask us to, what is the equation of the line in point slope form? So we need to know when to stop. That's extremely important, when to stop. So we are going to stop at point, the second step here, that passes through 4, 0 and negative 2, 1. All right, so I like to look at it like this when I do my slope. I tend to start at the second one and make an arrow to the first one. Again, you don't have to. That's just how I visualize things. So we do 1 minus 0, and we're going to divide by, and now we do the negative 2 minus 4, like so. And let's finish that one up. This one gives me a 1 in the numerator, and this gives me a negative 6 in the denominator, so my slope is negative 1/6. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 1, we found the slope. Now we're going to substitute the slope and one of the points. Which point? Doesn't matter. I'm going to choose the second point for this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by writing point slope form. Y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I am going to substitute the negative 1/6 goes in for the m. The negative 2 goes in for the x1. And the 1 goes in for y1. And then we're going to simplify if need be, which is not always the case. So sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Okay, so let's do this. Y minus the 1 equals negative 1/6 x minus the negative 2, like so. And it looks like we do need to simplify here. So if there were anything, for example, if we were multiplying by a negative 1 or a 1 here, we wouldn't need to write it. If we had zeros here, right, we could reduce that to just x. And notice here, what we can simplify this is just the double negative becomes a positive. So here's my answer, or at least one of my possible answers. X plus 2, and I'm done there. Now, just to show you, some of you may have wanted to select the other point there, the 4, 0, and what would that have yielded us if we did that. So let me go ahead and show you over here if we had done that. The 0 would go in for y, the negative 1/6 still in for the slope, and the x minus the 4 right there. Notice the right side reduces, but the left side reduces, but the right side does not. No change there. And this would be point slope form still. Notice the 0 we don't need to write. This almost looks like slope intercept form if we were to distribute out there. So, but let's not confuse our forms here. All right, so that's where we stop. However, notice what the try it part here says. This says, what's the equation of the line in point slope form that passes through? So we're still going to do point slope form here. So no however there, just point slope form. All right, go ahead and do these. Pause and check the answer. And here are the two possible options per problem there. So come with me. Okay, now let's go ahead and graph using point-slope form. Graph a line represented by each line. So the nice thing here is we are given two very important things. Number one, we are told where we can begin. We can begin at this point right here and here. So remember, it's the opposite of what we see. So the point that we see here is going to be a -3, +2. So opposites there. And we also have how to move. We're told what our slope is. Our slope is 2. And again, how do we interpret that? That can be interpreted as +2 and +1, which means up 2 and right 1. So let's go ahead and sketch this. Notice where we're beginning here. We're beginning at -3, 2, so -3 and 2 over here, and then we're going up. So I might want to give myself a little bit more space right here by not doing the crosshairs directly in the center. And I'm just going to label a few things here just to get me started on the graph. Okay, so what do I do? The point here is at -3, +2, which is right there. And now we follow the instructions to go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. Remember, conversely, we could have done down 2, left 1, and gone to this point and then to this point. Okay, and we're done. So graphing is very quick with this, as fast or slightly slower because you have to do a little bit more interpretation up here, as slope-intercept form. Okay, it's your turn to practice these ones. Now let's look at the application here. Members of Student Council are conducting a fundraiser by selling school calendars. And after selling 80 calendars, they have a loss of $360. And after selling 200 calendars, they have a profit of $60. So we're going to write an equation that describes the relation between y, the profit or loss, and x, the number of calendars sold. How much profit did they make from selling each calendar, and how much would they have lost if they had sold no calendars? Okay, so we need to look at and see that we have some points here. Here is selling 80 calendars gives me a negative. Selling 80 calendars gives me a negative $360. And notice that selling 200 gives me a positive $600. So here are my 2 points. This gives me a loss. This one gives me a profit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and begin. What's the slope here? So let's do y2 minus y1 and divide by x2 minus x1. Notice the double negative there becomes positive, and we are left with 960 over 120. We can actually just punch this into the calculator in order to get even the decimal or fraction, but it turns out this is a whole number, so $8. Okay, next, now we're going to take one of the points and put it into the point slope form. Now remember, with this, it doesn't matter which one we choose, but I do want to take this a little bit further and go all the way to slope-intercept form. I'm going to use the blue point because it's a little bit nicer to consider, because there aren't any negatives or double negatives to consider. So the 8, of course, is going to go here, and then the 600 will go right here, and the 200 will go in for the x1, like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my distributive property here, because I'm going to convert this to point slope form. So y minus 600 is equal to 8x minus 1600. And now when we add 600 to both sides, we get this. And now let's interpret what this means here. Okay, this here means the profit per calendar, how much money they make per calendar. So they make $8 for each calendar they sell. And so if they sell 0 calendars, this here is the amount of money they will lose. So the loss, if 0 calendars are sold, is going to be $1,000. And there we go.